Hi, welcome. This is Going Well, I think, with David Cooper. I'm David Cooper. This is the show where no one's listening. No one cares. The show where every episode's the last episode. Well, our foreign correspondent, Tony Five, visited me in New York last week. And while he was here, we had a brainstorming session about a new segment for this show. And in true bizarro self-referential form, we are going to work out this segment as a segment on the show. So I'm going to bring here our producer, Dani, and that lovable idiot from England, Tony Five, to work this thing out. Let's bring Tony on. We'll give Dani a call. But first, the music. Hello, Tony.
Hey, baby. Greetings from Blighty. How are you, young man?
I'm doing well. Let's get Dani, our producer, on the line.
Let's get my fucking theme tune on, bruv.
And now, live from London, England, it's foreign correspondent Tony Five. Are you excited to hear a North American ringtone, Tony?
David, always. Always.
You know, whenever I watch British media and I get the deet, 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 I'm always like, this is a British show. What do you feel when you hear an American ringing? Like, it must feel so different and foreign.
Slight erection, definitely aroused. The one thing that always makes me sound like amazing is do-do-do-do, do-do-do, which I think is like a Cisco thing. It used to be from like 24. It was like the generic government ringtone from like, if you're in an office in a government building, and it was do 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 do.
I've never regretted asking a question more. Let's get Dani on the line.
I mean, this is great radio, podcast, audio. It's so exciting listening to a telephone ring, David. Should we talk about that again?
Oh, no.
Her name is Dani. She's coming on our show.
Whatever you're selling, I don't want to buy it.
All right, Dani. We're doing a thing where we're planning the show on the show. It's self-referential. It's weird. I like it. The segment is called What's Weird About You? And while Tony was in New York, him and I ideated, because we're a bunch of idiots. We didn't ideate. We ideated. And we wanted to involve you in a new weekly or perhaps once every 2 weekly segment. How are you doing, first of all?
Well, we can ideate every single day. I think we have enough material for that. I'm well. I'm glad you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I'm not surprised that a cat got burnt, but...
What about the penis revealing at the end of Thanksgiving dinner? Tony didn't seem to think that was traditional. Do Canadians do that, or is that just an American thing?
It was weird.
You know, I don't know that many families that partake in that tradition, but I do think you and your brothers should make that a yearly thing.
I think it's what the Pilgrims would have wanted, to be fair.
Like, you have to do it now. Every year, it updated pictures.
If my brother can't make it to New York, then I guess we'll have to FaceTime his penis in.
I think that's a great idea, David. Every now, from Thanksgiving when we visit, we see a Jewish penis. So, and I'd like to call this What's Weird About Jew?
It's What's Weird About You, Tony.
All right, whatever. I always like my puns, David. My Jewish-based puns are what I'm famous for here in the UK.
Sure. Now, the idea is we bring a stranger, whether they're an expert in the field, a random person, a listener, any listener can partake. And I'm going to give Dani a new email address today. It's going to be dani@jew.pizza. That's DANI. They can email her. Tony, what is the basics of this segment? It was sort of your idea.
Thank you very much, David. You can hand over to me and I will present the presentation, David, as we would do here in Blighty. The idea is that you, or people out there, or producer Dani, as she is, which I still don't fucking know what that does, will get a guest who will come on the show with a specific trait or a specific talent or a specific hobby or a job that David then has to figure out with the mind of David Cooper. and I will have already spoken to this person, maybe on the phone, and we'll have spoken a little bit, and they will come on, and David will spend 5 or 10 excruciating minutes trying to work out what that person does, is, or has. I think it's a good idea. It will probably be god awful, but it's something, to be fair. And your role, young Dani, is to get the person, but David has a forfeit if you cannot provide such content. Over to you, my counterpart.
Oh, yes, this is my favorite part. Dani, if you can't find someone, and we'll help you, but if you can't find someone, Dani, to be on the show, to partake in this segment, What's Weird About You, the punishment is you have to come on the show.
Oh, man. Lovely. So let me get this straight. Basically, this is going to be like Tinder producing for the podcast. Like, I'm going to be weeding through and getting rid of anyone who sounds sane so that we're left with people that don't sound sane, and they're the ones that are going to be invited on the show.
Yes, and they need to have a trait, talent, job, or hobby. I took notes, Tony. I'm doing a good job here. I have a document called What's Weird About You, and all I have written down is trait, talent, job, or hobby that has to be somewhat off. Anything about the person that's somewhat off, and they come on, and Tony is sort of the interviewer, and I have to guess what that is. So you've got to find someone with that, but everybody has something weird about them, right, Dani?
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure your listeners are going to have plenty of weird stuff about them.
The first one is that they actually listen to the show anyway, so that's the major weirdness. We're not going to count that, the fact that they listen to the show, but the idea is that you set them up, you have a chat with them by email, and you give me their contact. I will contact them prior to the show, and then it's up to you to schedule it, get them in, and we do that. And that is wonderful content, as we call it here in the UK, wonderful content.
All right, so that's the segment. We're going to start it next week. I thought we would kick off this segment by offering what's weird about us as an example. My example is I bite my toenails. Only after I shower, and my girlfriend Miranda feels that this was something I hid from her for the first few years we dated, because if I had done it in front of her within the first few years, she would have broken up with me. It is a vile hobby. But I love doing it. I don't know. I bite my fingernails because I have anxiety, and when I run out of those, I go on to my toes. But there's a real expiration date on this, because eventually I'm not going to be able to fit my foot in my mouth, or there's going to be a last time I try it in my 50s, and I'm just going to hear a loud crack, and there goes my hip.
Are you that flexible?
Right now I am.
So wait, that's the weird thing about you, not the fact that you jerked off in the bed next to your mom when you were younger.
Yeah, or you show people your penis on Thanksgiving dinner. That's weird. I'm sorry.
Those are both perfectly normal things. I'm sticking with the foot in the mouth thing. Tony, what's weird about you?
I've got some, most people wouldn't know. I'm quite odd myself. I tend to close my eyes when I write my signature. which is like, it's just the strangest thing in the world, right? I don't know why I do it. I don't know when it started. I tend to, when I write my signature anywhere, slightly close my eyes, and I can't work out when it's. I don't think my hand and my signature is connected to my optic nerve, yet somehow I still do it everywhere I go. And I started to think, this would stop when people stopped writing checks. Brilliant. Chip and pin came in and contactless, and I was like, okay, hallelujah. And then I did a job now where I have to fill multiple forms a day, so I look, for 50% of the time, a little bit like Stevie Wonder.
I like this one, not because it's outrageous. It's not. It's kind of stupid, but I could never guess that. Like, if you brought someone to the show whose weird thing is they sign documents with their eyes closed, I don't think 1,000 questions. That would be a great one, actually, because I would lose this game.
Dani, I think we need to work out what the punishment would be for David. It can't be as severe as yours, because I'm going to guess he will fail more time than he succeed. That's what Miranda said. But I think we need to work out what for David. But you don't have to do that now. I know it's a lot to take on in the first one. Plus, 1 second, David, I do have breaking news. So just to let you know, apparently Piers Morgan has given the names of the people that called the guy Ginger, whoever it was, and something to do with Prince Harry. Let me tell you the two people. Can I say it on air? Will we get sued, David?
I have no idea what you're talking about, but keep going.
Oh my God, Dani, he doesn't know this.
Yeah, why would he? I mean, it was only in our work group chat. I mean, I sent, I don't know, 3 articles about it, so that doesn't surprise me.
I have a friend in from out of town, and we have a podcast group chat, and you guys fucking fill it with 100 messages. I can't keep up.
Yeah, we've got to have WhatsApp boundaries. So I think from now on, any content suggestions are going to go by email to David because 1, I don't care, and 2, my phone beeps all the time. So I don't want that anymore. So that's going to stop from now on. But also, so basically, there's a new book by Prince Harry and Meghan written by a ghostwriter. And in that book, it is alleged or suggested that 2 members of the royal family queried what colour William's baby would be. I don't know whether you remember that. And now the names of these people has been put out. Now, loads of papers and media in the UK are not allowed to say it. But it was published in the Dutch book, right, Dani?
It appears that it was, although they pulled those books off the shelves and they're claiming that it was just a printing error. So I guess they're going to release, new edited versions of that book. But Piers Morgan has outed the 2 royal family members.
So we can quote Piers Morgan without getting sued. We're not saying it. Piers Morgan would saying it. Also, more than one listener would have to hear this show for us to get in trouble. So I think we should say the names.
Are you sure that King Charles isn't a regular listener of the podcast? Are you sure about that?
No.
Not 100% sure, but I have some confidence he doesn't listen.
Okay, so David, without further ado, I will take a break. And I know you've got the dump button, so I will pause it out just in case you need to get rid of it later. It was Penn and Teller.
Wow. That's wild. I was watching the Chris Rock comedy special from 10 months ago, and he said that's not that racist because if you're a black family and you bring a white girl home, the first thing the mother's going to say is, what color is the skin of the baby going to be? And that's a totally normal thing, which I just thought was such a funny frame because that's totally normal according to Chris Rock in black culture. But if white people do it, it's the end of the world.
The interesting thing about that, though, is that I think you could ask that question with 2 completely different meanings behind the question, right? Because I think, if you're not racist whatsoever, it might just be I wonder, and where you're almost hoping that the kid's going to have this wonderfully, caramel type of skin. Or you can ask the question, and if you're coming from a racist perspective, then yeah, I guess it's a totally different story. But hey, it's we'll see what happens. Quite the bombshell for the royal family.
Plus, we need to know how much chicken to bring.
Well, Chris Rock was saying that Meghan Markle should have known better because the British royal family invented racism. Like, they are the original racists. So
Correct. They're the OG. They're not the remake. They're the original, David.
yeah, everyone's been remixing it for the last 1,000 years, but they were the original composition. They get the credit on Spotify for writing the song.
Correct. They're Motown, essentially.
All right, Dani, what is weird about you before we wrap this up?
Oh boy. I mean, I love strategy games. I can play strategy games for hours. I don't know if that Settlers of Catan is probably one of my favorites.
That's not really weird, but it does give the answer of why you're a virgin.
I am obsessed with one of our cats, and it's the guy who's like he's like very skinny and weak and sick all the time, and I can literally kiss and pet that cat like all day long. I adore him, and it's great. The attachment is crazy. I think it's probably not healthy, but yeah.
All right, so plays board games, loves a cat. I love these examples because they're examples of things you cannot bring to the show because they're terrible. And if you bring us a guest like that, that will be the equivalent of doing a bad job and you will be punished, Dani.
Oh, gosh. Okay, well, hopefully your listeners meet the challenge and send in some weird ideas.
All right, good examples, bite toenails, sign papers, closing their eyes. Bad examples, board game player and cat lover.
Okay.
And ideally, we'd like them to come on a show physically via audio. If they don't want to, they can send an email and I can talk on their behalf with their accent.
Fair enough. All right, so email us if you want to be on the show, but Dani's also just going to find weirdos. My email is david@jew.pizza, Tony is tony@jew.pizza, and Dani is DANI, Danny@jew.pizza.
But please don't email me because I just don't care.
What if they want to do the interview in person? Can I just give them your your address, David?
Yes, and buzzer code, and send them a copy of my key as well.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, they'll just come round to your house. You just take anybody. Bring a penis, people.
Don't forget your penis at home.
It's always Thanksgiving in David Cooper's flat.
We want edge, no weird, right?
Yes. For those who don't know who that is, that was a not sane caller of my old radio show.
If you can get hold of Edna, that would be a Christmas present. I mean, God bless us, everyone.
I do have her email address, so let's take this offline. Oh, God, that's like a tech idiom from my old job. Let's take this offline.
Jesus.
Let's email Edna and see if we can get her on the show.
I mean, let's email all of the suicidal people that we had before. Fair enough, a couple of them would still be alive now.
Doubtful. All right, Dani, we love you. Thank you for all your help on the show, and I'm looking forward to the first week, next week, of What's Weird About You.
Thanks for that wonderful new email address.
Dani, I will think of a theme song for next week, and I'll probably sing it to David at some stage. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is, unfortunately, I traveled to America. I went to Thanksgiving. I went for lunch with David, and this is the culmination of all of that, this pitch here, which shows the level of what we're about. If we can only think of this after nearly $1,000 and 10,000 miles, then yeah. This is pretty much it.
This was the best we could come up with our various meetings about writing for the show.
When David goes to restaurants, does he show people his penis pics, or is that just for Thanksgiving dinner at home?
I have, but I don't do it regularly, Dani.
It was so odd, Dani. It was so odd because I was sitting directly on him, so it was almost like I was there. You know, when he was intimate, it was like staring at me.
What's really weird is that it's two brothers. It's not even like two buddies.
But the brother was next to me.
We didn't show each other the pictures, Dani. I didn't see my brother's junk and he didn't see mine, but every other guest saw both of ours.
You have some boundaries. Good to know. Okay.
I'm not a psychopath.
Yeah, it was weird because I saw both Cooper appendages like within like a few minutes of each other. It was really weird.
Did you see the resemblance? Because when I talk to my brother, everyone's like, hey, you sound so much like him. You look so much like him. Did you see the resemblance, Tony?
I think of it like Elon Musk's SpaceX. Yours was like on the launch pad, and his was like launching.
Okay, his was the booster stage. All right, I'm going to end this right now. Tony, thanks for coming on here. Dani, thanks for the help with the show.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye, Dani. Have a great day.
Ciao.
And email us, David, fucking hell.
Jesus Christ.
Email us, David@Jew.pizza, Dani@Jew.pizza, and Tony@Jew.pizza. That's DANI, Dani. If you want to be on What's Weird About You.